Thank you for joining me today on Life and Surround. It is my pleasure at long last to share with you The Pineapple Thief. How did we find our way? This is a retrospective that spans 5 albums and 2 week-long projects. So 7 total distinctive projects, all mixed into 5.1 and Atmos and presented in stereo on 7 CDs, 5.1 and Atmos on Blu-ray. This is a very, very cool art book set. There's a lot that I want to share about this art book set, and so please forgive me. I usually don't, but I am going to consult some notes because I don't want to leave out points that really, struck me as interesting because I think they might be for you. So what we have here is a 7 CD, 1 Blu-ray art book set, and don't forget, comes with a hype sticker just to share with you all the features. This is a retrospective spanning 1999 to 2006. You have Bruce taking the artistic liberty of retitling some albums. So the debut is now called Abducted at Birth, which was the title he originally wanted, but succumbed to some management pressure to title his debut in reference to the band he was already in. Thus, it went from Abducted at Birth to Abducting the Unicorn in reference to Vulgar Unicorn. But I was going to get to that when I discussed the debut album because I want to do like a disc by disc type of thing. But no worries, we got it out of the way early. So this art book shares a lot of personal insights, mainly from Bruce, but also from John Sykes and from others. It's written by a journalist, so I think that lends an air of objectivity, just given that it's an outside perspective. I'm going to mispronounce their name, I'm sure, so I apologize. Anil Prasad. I'm not sure that's correct, so I apologize if not. But this is a very well-written set. You get album by album a description of what it was like to produce the album, various problems that were going on at the time, various successes, the excitement over, first live performances and difficulties with setting up a home studio and working on music in the midst of just a normal daily life, a job and a girlfriend and, stuff like that. I really like this book. It represents high value to me. You get track list pages for each and every album or project. You get an album specific essay in chronological order. So there's a narrative that goes through this book. Each album and project gets a lyric page, which I am very grateful for. You get reimagined album artwork, slice of life photos, promo photos, and much, much more. So very much a fan of the book. I think it represents value, and the discs are relatively easy to get in and out of their holders. They feel secure, not like you're going to break them in half trying to get them out or anything. So I think this is a well-designed art. I think this is a well-designed art book product. So for those possibly new to this channel, I am quite a Bruce Soord fan, including a fan of The Pineapple Thief. Bruce Soord is very prolific in multi-channel music. He has remixed some favorite bands of mine like Catatonia, and he has made his own solo musical work available in 5.1 and I'm sure Atmos at some point. His debut and his follow-up are available at least as downloads in multi-channel, but his second album was put out in an art book, and I really enjoy that album. He's put out copious amounts of The Pineapple Thief material in multi-channel. Not only do you have this gem of any multi-channel collection, Where We Stood, it's not only got the concert with, I believe, 2 different choices for a multi-channel mix, a more aggressive one or less. And then you also get Your Wilderness and 8 Years Later, 2 albums in 5.1 just as a bonus. And then you also get some bonus high-res stereo content as well. And this is a good show. And I believe this might have served as the multi-channel introduction of Gavin Harrison with the Pineapple Thief. Dissolution, standalone, 5.1 Blu-ray. I'm not sure if a more deluxe set was put out. I wasn't really following the Pineapple Thief at the time, but a standalone Blu-ray from a K-Scope proggy artist got my attention, and I gave it a whirl. And I'm not sure which came first anymore between these two, at least in my discovery. But anyway, both early for me in terms of the Pineapple Thief in surround. And then they also put out Nothing But the Truth. This was a concert. If memory serves, it was sort of a COVID lockdown thing. So there's no audience. It's just minimal crew and the band. And they put on like a live set, so to speak. I mean, maybe like, you know, like a dress rehearsal for a live set, because I don't remember there being an audience, but it's discreet. It's mixed aggressively. It's how, you know, us surround nuts really want a live show mixed. Makes it worth listening to in and of its own right. And then that brings us to Give It Back, which is a set of 12 songs, all of which the band currently have in their live repertoire, at least in terms of rehearsal. So the new touring band, you know, including Gavin Harrison, who's just a member of the full band anyway, the new lineup going over 12 classic The Pineapple Thief songs, and to some extent rearranging and just setting a new feel on the tracks, complete re-recordings based on like the drum stylings of Gavin Harrison and just, you know, some different writing choices. So half the songs from this 12-song set were selected from this material, okay? So I am going to assume that the other half the songs, the other 6 songs from this set, are going to be coming from the volume 2 set. So I see How Did We Find Our Way as volume 1 of like the history of the Pineapple Thief. And I am sure there's going to be a volume 2. Please, Bruce, tell us if there's going to be a volume 2. Tell us that there's going to be a volume 2. So oddly enough, this set stops just before the last Cyclops Records release, which would be What We Have Sown from 2007. So we get Abducting the Unicorn, now called Abducted at Birth, through Little Man. But this set didn't include What We Have Sown, maybe for space reasons. As it is, the Blu-ray is packed with 5.1 and Atmos of 7 different projects. And there's a few bonus tracks from Little Man that are not included. And there's even like minimal menu functionality on the Blu-ray because they just had no extra room. So thank you so much, Bruce, for delivering, I think, around 8.5 hours of multi-channel content, 5.1 and Atmos. And there's so much content in this art book set that it has taken me this long to be able to speak to it. I've had this set for weeks, and weeks. You can see like some recent videos where, you know, I promise that I am working on this set for this review. But it takes a while. It takes a while to ingest it all. I've heard the CDs and the Blu-ray. I can tell you that the set sounds great. The CDs sound great. Steve Kitch, a member of the band and the kind of the buck stops here audio engineer, I believe he's directly responsible for the mastering now, is really good at what he does. You have mastering here that is sympathetic to the music from someone who really cares about the music. And Bruce Soord, I have said numerous times, is one of my favorite multi-channel engineers, delivers solid Atmos mixes here. I will take his word that the 5.1 being mixed specifically for 5.1 systems is a great listen. I apologize, I haven't had a chance to circle back and delve into that yet. but the Atmos is wonderful, wonderful. Usually focusing the main vocal up front with main rhythmic instruments like the main rhythmic guitar. Percussion is likely to be just anywhere in the room, including up discernibly in the Atmos. Overdubs, like guitar overdubs, ethereal keyboard parts, vocal effects, backing vocals, and all kinds of information is liable to be mixed anywhere around you and in a very engaging and very successfully immersive way. So I recommend this set. It is still on sale. This is a current set. We're not talking about some out of print legacy gem of everyone's collection. Like, you can go out. You can go out and get this. It is available, from my understanding, on Burning Shed, Amazon, and it has to be available in other places as well, maybe some discounters. I am going to provide some starting links for you, a Kscope page, Amazon, and Burning Shed, if memory serves. That will be in the description. Always look in the descriptions. I often put stuff that you might want to know in the description of my videos. So I recommend this set. I think it sounds great. I think it is a satisfying, immersive surround experience. I am a fan of this band. I want to just give full disclosure, okay? I'm a fan of this band. I do believe I am bringing objectivity to this set in regard to the value. If you are willing to go in for the 75-pound price, in the United States, I think I've seen US dollars down as low as 85. I understand that that is a high initial cost if you don't have much interest in the Pineapple Thief, but I think you should. It's very interesting music that actually grows on me over time rather than tiring, rather than becoming tired. And I'm a fan of the band, not only because, like, Bruce is a nice guy. He's done an interview on this channel. I saw his band nearby in San Francisco, California. They were very nice. They were very insightful about how they do what they do. They signed some records for me. So I'm going to show off my Little Man LP. I love Little Man. I love Little Man. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I love Little Man. And I'm so glad that it is included in this set. And then 3 songs from it are also included on Give It Back. This is an important record. This is an important record. This is the record that somebody passed to Steven Wilson, and Steven Wilson heard it, liked it, and I believe was more or less directly involved in getting Bruce linked up with Kscope. And Kscope has been a great home for Bruce, Soord, and the Pineapple Thief. So this is an important record. Thanks, guys, for signing it. That was very, very cool of you. My double LP. They also signed my Versions of the Truth art book. This multi-channel set. So like I said, Bruce Soord is prolific in multi-channel, lots of the Pineapple Thief content, lots of his own solo content, a growing number of remixes for other groups, and I haven't heard anything from Bruce Soord yet that has disappointed me. So I count him amongst my favorite current multi-channel engineers, and I also count him among the best that I'm aware of. So this current set, How Did We Find Our Way? Very cool. If Give It Back is still for sale, very cool. This actually stands up, in my opinion, as like a cool album in and of itself. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about this book set. 5 albums, 2 quick projects. I hear a distinct Smashing Pumpkins influence across the first 2 albums, Abducted, At Birth, and 137. Okay, and I formed that opinion just by listening before it actually says as much in the book. Okay, I circled back way later and read that while I was listening to the debut in Atmos after quite some time. All right. So great minds think alike. There's some Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan influence going on the early records. You get some performances from John Sykes across this material, but it is mostly Bruce Soord. There is an album where he tried to record as a live band because he was excited about the touring band that had congealed together, but that didn't quite work out. But we'll get to that. Let's go album by album, and I'm going to give like a standout track from each album, and then we'll probably wrap up. Okay. So this set starts with the debut album, Abducting the Unicorn. It is now called Abducted at Birth. That's a reference to Bruce's view at the time that evangelical Christianity can have an influence on one's life in a negative way. And he describes in the book that he was kind of a militant atheist at the time, and he may not feel exactly the same way at this time, but art as a slice of life, a cross section of just where you're at. Abducted at Birth makes more sense to the theme of the record, and I personally resonate with how tough evangelical Christianity can be on just trying to navigate one's lifestyle in that context. So I feel him on that one. Standout track for me is Private Paradise, the lead-off track on the record. I really like it. I think you should check it out if you are curious whether you're into very early The Pineapple Thief. And I would give honorable mention to I Am the Only One. And the cool thing about that is it's one of the bonus tracks. Bruce has mixed the vast majority of bonus material in 5.1 in Atmos, and in some cases, for me, it ends up being the strongest material from a particular project. So thank you so much for going the extra mile, so to speak, and doing that. Really, really does add value to this set. Next album, we have 137. This one makes less of an impact on me than the album that comes before or those that come after. Standout track would be How Did We Find Our Way, which ends up being the title track here for this art book set, and also is the earliest track included in the Give It Back album for re-recording and rearranging with Gavin Harrison. All right, so Variations on a Dream. Soord and the band had just lost a friend named Jon Tapper. So rest in peace, Jon Tapper. I will dedicate this video to you. I am dealing with the impending loss of a friend, as are some of my fellow service members. One of our fellow service members in the U.S. Army is basically on his deathbed. I spent the majority of my weekend supporting him, visiting, and I didn't know how bad off he was until I got there. So in retrospect, I feel like I spent my time saying goodbye. And so I understand. And I've gone through other losses, as well. So this is one of those albums that really is able to really personally reach me. And I already have a connection to Variations on a Dream. Standout track for me is Vapor Trails. Not only because it reminds me of Vapor Trails by Rush, the album, and then Vapor Trail, the track, also inspired by loss from the lyricist Neil Peart. Had lost his first wife and their daughter tragically. Thought the band was going to break up, but Rush got back together, and Vapor Trails came as a result. Just a beautiful song and a very, very personal and in some ways passionate album from Rush, and inspired by some loss and tragedy. And so Variations on a Dream also is. And not only does it have the Rush connection, but I recommend Vapor Trails because it's a lovely tune in its own right. So again, if you want to check out some early The Pineapple Thief, Vapor Trails, I believe, is a very good track. And this sees Bruce transitioning from a bit of a Billy Corgan sound to more of a Tom York sound. So at least that's my opinion. And maybe chime in the comments if you have a different opinion. But I hear some Tom York through the next few projects. So we have the first of the week-long projects that I referred to. This is called 8 Days. Bruce wisely wanted to take advantage of a double album offer, kind of an accident in the manufacturing chain, but he was offered 8 days to submit material for basically a bonus disc for Variations on a Dream, to put it out as like a deluxe 2-disc set. That's my understanding from what I read. So don't quote me on that unless I'm right, and feel free to leave any clarification on anything I say in the comments. But 8 Days was written, performed, recorded, mixed, and delivered to his label, Bruce's label. 1 song or more per day. All of this was delivered to his label in 8 days. For me, the standout track is Bliss, because I have some friends named Bliss and I totally love them. And again, it's a bonus track. So sometimes the most compelling material can be down in those bonus tracks. So don't cheat yourself. Listen to everything in this set. Next, we have 10 Stories Down. From the liner notes, it seems like it was originally called 12 Stories Down. And due to, I believe, label pressure, he condensed it, and now he feels like it was a mistake to drop the material that was dropped. And so I believe we have all 12 of the original tracks at this point, plus some sort of additional track. It's a baker's dozen. This is a 13-track project at this point. So I don't know if maybe it should be called 13 Stories Down or whatever. Standout track for me is I Will Light Up Your Eyes. To me, this sounds like the band Anathema. How do you say that word? I think there may be some regional variations on that. How does the band say that word? I always like to know that. But anyway, that band, I think they were also on Kscope, and from their like distant satellites or weather systems period, I Will Light Up Your Eyes has a similar vibe in a way that's just very, very pleasant for me. From this album, Wretched Soul and Start Your Descent make it to the Give It Back project, selected for Give It Back. And funny story from the book, Bruce and Steve accidentally hit the mastering button for this album twice in a rush to get it out to the label. So the initial run was mastered and then mastered again. So like you have compression and EQ and reverb or whatever goes into the final mastering process, all of that done like on top of itself. So I don't know if that's like that has to have some sort of compounding effect. It wouldn't be just like doubling the settings. I think it would be significantly more mastering than that. So they heard it. It was not anywhere near to their intention. So the album was rerun. But that just goes to show, that mistakes are good teachers. And now you have a team that is dedicated to putting out really great mixes, really great sounding mastering as well. They care about the music. They keep it in-house enough that they make sure it's right. And that is greatly appreciated. There's something chagrining about getting an anticipated surround or, immersive multi-channel release and you put it on and there's just some unnecessary audio processing that, perceived or real, degrades the listening experience. So this is a group that puts out material that they at least believe sounds great, and they at least care about the music and have some skills, and I think they do an excellent job. All right, so moving ahead, we have 8 Days Later. This is the second of the essentially 1-week projects. It was posed to Bruce by the record label. I guess that would be Cyclops at this time, to just try 8 days again. And so he thought it would be an interesting creative process. He got a lot of input from fans, used their ideas, did, roughly a song a day. And as with 8 days, 8 days later, he also set up some outside microphones. So he was capturing the neighborhood sounds, which just helps us to get a sense for like the environment that he was in. I think it's really kind of a brilliant idea. Standout track would be the Snail Song, written about a snail who met a tragic end via some neighborhood children, and he caught the incident in his outdoor recording. And Snail Song, it rivals, in my opinion, Snail Shell by They Might Be Giants as the coolest rock song about snails. So I encourage you to check it out. The Snail Song, along with other cool songs. I like both of these 8 days projects. They just are, from the hip, they're unrehearsed, and it's just come up with what you come up with in a day and just get on with it. There's something very, very, very fresh about that. Little Man. I identify with Little Man, sense of loss that inspires. The record came from Bruce and his significant other losing a child. And wow, I've been through tragedy myself with my wife. What I will tell you is that I am a very, very grateful and thankful father to a wonderful 6-year-old human being. I value my time as a dad. And that's one reason why I don't do more videos and why I'm slow about producing my own music. My son is just everything to me. The apple of my eye is just really understating it. And so the loss felt from the loss of a child, and like everything that my wife and I went through, 15 years of tragedy to get to the point where we finally welcomed our son into our home. So there's a lot about this set, that I can relate to. Is it any wonder that I became a fan of The Pineapple Thief? You get some very honest writing from Mr. Soord, and he's such a nice guy. It's hard to understand how he could have so many demons to write about, but I do understand. I think some people think I'm a nice guy too, and I've got my own. And I really resonate with that. There was no warning sign. The wounds won't heal in time. There's nowhere we will go without you, Yeah, we carry our losses with us everywhere. But Little Man lives on in this music. That was a very noble and personal and vulnerable and ultimately, I'm sure, cathartic thing to share. Dead in the Water, Boxing Day, and Little Man all selected for the Give It Back album. And standout tracks for me would be Little Man and Boxing Day. If you want to know whether you have like the emotional connection, like that very available, easy emotional connection with the Pineapple Thief in this era, maybe start with Boxing Day. There's a good video of it on YouTube, a live rendition. It's really good. So anyway, there's lots to recommend about this set. Actually is packed with music that I find worthwhile. I gravitate to some of these projects a little more instantly, a little more strongly than others. I would say Little Man for me continues to be my favorite album from this era, but there's lots of other interesting material, and I'm super happy to just hear the progression. Like I said, there's a bit of a Smashing Pumpkins thing going on with the early albums, and then transitions to a bit more of a Tom York Radiohead thing, just in my opinion. And then finally with Little Man, you end up getting, not surprisingly, the album from this set that sounds the most like future the Pineapple Thief material. Such a cool set, such a cool band. Very, very nice guys. Absolutely worthy of our support. Okay. If you're the Pineapple Thief fan and I've introduced you to anything that you don't yet have, like, help those items sell out. Let's reward Bruce for being an interesting songwriter, very vulnerable artist in terms of the content that we're getting. I really do believe it's just highly truthful stuff. Surrounded by friends that have just stuck with him forever. John Sykes, Steve Kitch, now Gavin Harrison on the tubs, doing just an amazing job elevating the group just in terms of those progressive chops, and in terms of like the limitless feel to the songwriting. Could just really go anywhere. So Bruce Soord is an exciting character in the multi-channel world. The Pineapple Thief is an exciting band. Like I said, Bruce also works on other projects, Catatonia, a lot of K-Scope stuff. I'm not sure if he's got something exclusive going on there or if he can branch out now or eventually. But like I said earlier, K-Scope has been, I believe, a really good home for him. It could just be the perfect fit. I'm very happy with his remixes. I'm very happy with his own material. So Bruce, thank you for doing what you do. I know that a lot of other fans, I know I speak for a lot of my surround loving brothers and sisters, that we appreciate what you do, especially that you put out products of just tremendous value. Even if they're sometimes a little expensive, the value is there. And then also like all of the standalone Blu-ray releases, all of the releases that are just as affordable as possible. The quality of the music, the personal, truthful, vulnerable nature of the music, the just flat out interesting music before and now with Gavin Harrison, and just the stories that are available. This is a cool story. Like I said, there's a narrative that goes through this book. This is the history of the Pineapple Thief, Volume 1. I'm looking forward to Volume 2. I encourage everyone, go pick up How Did We Find Our Way? Let's make sure, like, I would love soon to look online and just see it out of stock everywhere. Huge value from a very cool band and just heavy hitters in the multi-channel world. So why wouldn't I cover them? Sorry it's been so long. Like I said, there's just been some personal delays, but I'm so very happy to share this very cool art book set with you. And just, I don't know, on a point that maybe doesn't need to be said, goes without saying, I love how art books kind of get close to that LP size. So it gets us back in touch with important artwork, and sits nicely on the shelf and all that. So on the IKEA Kallax shelving that I'm sure a lot of us have. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting Bruce Soord and the Pineapple Thief and K-Scope. Thank you, Bruce and friends, for the great music. For the great music. I'm a believer that great music is one of the most redeeming qualities to the human race, and one of the most enjoyable and meaningful experiences in human life. So it's very important to me. Everyone, I hope you are living lives of meaning, and that you're all doing well, and that everyone is living life in surround.